Welcome to the Sindhi Film Festival. Firstly, I'm sorry this video has come in 4 days late. July was extremely hectic. There's some amazing content coming for you in this month, in August, so we were busy shooting that. Getting straight into the video, this month in Let's Talk Sindhi book series, I'm going to be talking about this book, My Country, My Life by L.K. Advani. The book was published by Rupa and Company in the year 2008. This book is available to purchase on Amazon. It varies from rupees 400 to rupees 500 depending on what offers are available when you're shopping. The reason why I chose this book for this month's Let's Talk Sindhi book series is because I wanted to come out of my comfort zone. I wanted to do something different. We've gone through Shah Abdul Latif Risalo. We've looked at a romantic fiction book, but we haven't covered any autobiographies up till now, so I wanted to start with this autobiography. L.K. Advani is 91 years old and he's one of the most prominent political leaders in the present times. So I wanted to know a little bit about his life, his journey, and how he began his political career. As part of my research for the book, I came across this news piece where it said that the book launch was a very hyped event in Delhi, and understandably so. The book is beautifully thought out and it is divided into 5 phases depending on the phases of his life. And it also has a beautiful prologue, epilogue. The foreword is by Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I'll come to that towards the end. But I just want to say that I have not read the entire book. As I said in the beginning, it was a very hectic month. What fascinated me was the first 20 years of his life was spent in Sindh. The entire phase 1 and a little bit of phase 2 talks about his life in Sindh before partition. So I read up all of that, and whatever I'm going to talk about that is only about that part. It is about 1,000 pages and I'm very excited to read further on from what I have already read. In the chapter titled My First 20 Years in Sindh, he tells us that he was born in Karachi in November 1927. It wouldn't be a far stretch to say that he was born with a silver spoon. They had a single-storied bungalow, fairly spacious, beautifully designed. And he also says we had a horse-driven Victoria at home. I mean, given the fact that it was 1927 and they had a horse-driven carriage of their own, makes sense when I say silver spoon. Also, going on further, what fascinated me in the first few chapters that I've read is the way he got into politics, and also how he talks about the religious side in Sindh, how the religious scenario was. I'm going to touch on both of these factors now. For me, it was interesting to read when he became aware of his political instincts, when he saw the first corpses in his life and how he felt about them. I'm going to read out this bit. This is from page 6. He talks about Hemu Kalani and what the situation was then. Within a few months of my joining the RSS, Mahatma Gandhi gave the clarion call of Quit India. And I remember how enthusiastically all the Hindus and nationalist Muslims in Sindh had welcomed it. They were angered and inspired by the martyrdom of Hemu Kalani, a 19-year-old patriot who was hanged by the British in 1943. He was one of the tens of thousands in Sindh who had heeded Gandhiji's call of do or die. While marching to the gallows, he saw his mother sobbing. "Mother," he said to her, "hadn't you taught me from the Bhagavad Gita that the soul is indestructible? I promise you that if I am born again, I shall sacrifice my next life also to the cause of India's freedom." I felt like this and a few other episodes in his life, which are mentioned in the childhood years, lay a foundation to what he was going to become as one of the most important members of the Bharatiya Janata Party in India. In the same chapter, The Triumph of Freedom, Tragedy of Partition, on page 11, he talks about how he saw corpses in his life for the first time and how he felt about it. One day in early September, as I was travelling on my motorcycle on a road near Karachi's main railway station, I saw the body of a man who had been stabbed to death. A small distance ahead, I saw another corpse, and then a third. This was unusual and disturbing for me, as it was the first time in my life that I had seen corpses lying on streets. The fact that these situations disturbed him, also he was very young when he saw such gory situations in his life, I think went on to make him a leader that he became. He wanted to do something to bring about a change in the society. The seeds can be seen here. Now, moving on from the political side, he talks quite a lot about the Hindu-Muslim religious unity in Sindh. He talks about how Sindh was always a beautiful land which was together because of the fact that Hindus and Muslims never saw any differences amongst themselves. He also talks quite a lot about Shah Sami Sachal Sarmast. On page 20 from the chapter Sindh and India, an Unbreakable Bond, he talks about Sachal Sarmast, a Muslim previously named Abdul Wahab, was another great Sindhi poet who sang, "I'm neither a mullah nor a Brahmin, I'm neither east nor west, neither earth nor sky, I'm a jogi." And then he talks about how Sachal Sarmast advocated brotherhood. He also talks about how it was not unusual for Hindus to visit Muslim dargahs and so on and so forth. On the religious aspects, he also talks about how Sindhis are known to be Sufis in nature, and then he explains what Sufism is. Not only that, he also gives a very personal episode from his family, which explains how he's not only talking, he's also practicing the same. I quote, "The Sufi tradition is deeply ingrained, even today, in my wife Kamla's family. Her mother, Ganga Devi Jaktyani, was a devoted follower of the famous Sufi saint Sai Qutub Shah, whose dargah in Hyderabad she regularly visited. She used to sing Sufi kalams, Gurbani, and songs about Ram and Krishna with equal piety and also teach youngsters." He then talks about the darshan of Sai Noor Hussain Shah, the post-partition custodian of Saint Qutub Shah's dargah, and then he also goes on to talk about how Nanak Panthi was an integral part of his growing up years. They had Guru Granth Sahib at home. The mother used to read from Guru Granth Sahib every day, and Nanak Panthi was a very normal religious aspect in all the Sindhi households in Sindh before partition. Also, it was fascinating for me to read that he knows Latin, and he had learned Latin when he was in school. He was also a lover of cricket, books and cinema. He has read all the novels by Charles Dickens and has watched the movies that have been adaptations of his novels, and that made me realize that that is the reason why this is one of the beautifully written books that I've come across when it comes to political autobiographies. His love for cricket, books and cinema is clearly visible through the description that he has written of the things that he likes. He has written extensively about partition, and he has written how it was not a good thing that could have happened, how it could have been averted, how he wishes that it never happened, and the pain of partition really comes through, and how he came to Rajasthan from Sindh when the partition happened. Now, if you're thinking if this book is for you, I think it is a beautiful book. Of course, there's a lot of politics in the book, but that's because he's a political person. He is into the field of politics, and he's one of the most active Bharatiya Janata Party members up till today. But this book shows personal side of him as well, and how literally he has spanned 9 decades of his life doing what he loves doing and sacrificing his life for the nation. Not sacrificing like dying for the nation, but doing what he thinks should be done. I personally loved the book. I have studied politics as part of my college days, and this book shows how he prefers the country first, my country, my life. He talks about his life secondary, even in the title. And also, I would like to quote from Atal Bihari Vajpayee's foreword in the book. "In India, we do not have a deep-rooted tradition of prominent figures in public life writing their autobiographies." I think I agree with this statement. It really takes a lot to write a beautiful book, and this is one of the few books that I think I am interested in reading completely, even if I'm not interested in politics. So if you want to buy this book, or if you want to gift it to your family, friends, I think it's a beautiful present, and even for Sindhis, even for non-Sindhis, for politics inclined people, for historians, I think it will make a beautiful present. Finally, I would like to end this video by quoting a sentence from the chapter that he's written on partition. "Sindh is now a part of Pakistan, an independent and sovereign nation, a fact that has to be accepted. But from a civilizational perspective, neither can Sindh be separated from India, nor India can forget Sindh." I found this sentence very powerful, and I think I quite agree with it. The borders are very recent, and the divisions were divisions on the lines of geography. The cultural divisions, I think, will continue to not exist, if that makes sense. I hope you liked this video. Please share the video, like the video, you know the drill. Subscribe to the Sindhi Film Festival channel. Also, please press the notification bell so that you come to know when we upload new videos. I hope you watched other videos in this series. I've already made a few videos, and I hope you're enjoying them. If you have any recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.